Hi, Griffin. Thank you so much for submitting your week 3 of your informational piece. I know that you had trouble with the multimodal platform, so what we're going to focus on today is a couple of options for that might be more user-friendly for all computer types because I really want you to try to experiment with something multimodal in general. So since it didn't work out for the informational piece, I want you to try and incorporate something multimodal for poetry. I just wanted to say that you did a great job with your recipe and for in the future to just really check your spelling. You did a really great job with it, but there are some little things, especially in a recipe, that you want to make sure are spelled right. So for example, this says shimmering, and I'm guessing it should be simmering. So that's just something that you want to be careful with because autocorrect won't automatically catch that. So for different platforms, one that I want you to possibly try would be Canva. So if I go to it, I am going to sign up with it, and you can sign up with this right with your Roberts email that you were given. So I am going to find my Roberts email, and it just does it automatically. So I am using this as if I were a student as well because I'm using it for one of my writing classes, and you're a student as well. So you would just do student and skip because you don't want to do any free invites. And then these are all of your different options that are popular. So there's your infographics, your poster, presentations, brochure. So for example, if you just press on maybe just presentation, let's just say presentation. So you get to choose a template. So I am just going to choose something that is pretty basic that it looks like I could put a poem into. So, okay, so this one would work good if I wanted the poem on one side and some form of visual on the other side. So I'm just going to press this one, and over here is where I would put in my text. And if you go up, it's really big, so you wouldn't be able to put your poem there. You can go up and you can make it really small. So that was 8, and it's so small you can't even see it. But it's definitely more user friendly than the other one. So let's see, if we go back to home. Okay, so here's a bunch of different designs. You can do Canva print, social media, a Facebook cover, a flyer, Facebook post, Instagram post, a Pinterest graphic, US letter and document. So all of these are different options. So for your poem, maybe you want to write it on a book cover. So in this case, you would just pick an image that best suits your poem, and your poem would be the actual title of the book. So that's just something to mess around with. It looks like it's definitely a lot easier to use. There you could do infographic, there's some brochures, posters, a bunch of different things. And then another option that you can do, and you can use this again right with your Roberts email, would be Google Drive. So if you open that up and you press new, And if you go to Google Docs and from a template, there are a bunch of different things on here. So they have different letter styles that you can use, so this one would have been good for your recipe actually, because there's a recipe template right on here where you can insert visuals. So if you just go and look, there are a bunch of different options, even on something simple as Google Docs. So for your poem, you could use something like class notes, because you can put a visual on the top, and then obviously you just input your poem rather than what it gives you when you automatically press it. So I'm just going to press it to show you what I mean. So these are editable templates, so I would just erase all of this, and if my poem was called "This Is Just to Say," that is what I would have. And then you should already know how to use Google Docs, but you just center it, and then all of this would just get deleted, and you could center it once again and just write your poem. So I will show you by typing in some of my poem. So I have "This is just to say I forgot to make coffee." So you want to really pay attention to your formatting with poetry too, but we will get to that later. And then, so that would be one stanza, and then I would enter it again and I would just continue on with my poem. So that is pretty easy to use too. So just some thoughts to think about there is Canva, which has a lot of options, and then something just as simple as Google Docs if you find that Canva still isn't working on your computer. So our next unit that we are going to be working on is poetry, and poetry is really fun. So this isn't something that I was always enthusiastic about, but I have recently learned some strategies that make it really fun. So two types of poetry that I think you would have a lot of fun with, just because of your interest in fan fiction, would be "This Is Just to Say." And it is a borrowed poem. So what a borrowed poem is it uses the structure of the original poem and it changes the words. So as you can see, "This is just to say I've eaten the plums that were in the icebox in which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold." So we have the confession, why it was wrong, and then the false apology. And then we see over here, this is the borrowed poem. So "This is just to say," so we see the structure is the same. "I swiped your lucky baseball cap," so that was the confession, "which made you tragically lose the state playoff. Why it was a problem. Forgive me, the cap keeps the sun out of my eyes," which is the false apology because he's not really sorry. So that is one type of poem that I think is really fun. And then object poems. So an object poem is where you just you focus on one object that is really important to you, and you write about it using definitely sensory language, descriptive detail, and you try not to say the object. So I chose to do an object poem on my flute, but if you were reading it, you wouldn't necessarily know. So, and I will just read you my poem really quick to show you what I mean. So I wrote, "It sits on the shelf like an eager student on the edge of her chair, longing to be played like old toys of years past. The black folder full of music once loved, wanting to be played, to escape the boredom of waiting. My dear silver friend sitting in your case, like an inmate. One day you will be released and loved once more. So that was what I wrote. My flute is very near and dear to me. It is something that I have had with me since 5th grade, and it is very special. Unfortunately, right now I do not ever get a chance to play with it, but I know that one day I will. So that is why I chose to write that, and that was a pretty fun poem to write. So that's just 2 types of poems that you can write. As we get into the poetry unit this coming week, you will learn about several different other types of poetry as well as poetry strategy. So we're not going to get into that now. If you want to, I would like you to try and mess around with Canva. And if you have a poem written, that's great. You can try with that.